There's no secret to success. There's a system to success. And no matter what organization you become a part of, the system works if you work it. If you don't work it, it won't work. But it works if you work it. And that's one four-letter word that most people don't like. They're not willing to work. I have a friend who invited me to her brother's house to help him to get off drugs, to introduce him to a drug program that can help him. And I said, these people can help you, but you've got to be willing to do the work. And after we finished, he asked us to leave. And I'll never forget what she said. As we were going down the steps, she said, Les, I do apologize for wasting your time, but I realized when my brother knew that it would require work for him to get off drugs, that most people won't participate in their own rescue. And there are people who will be presented with an opportunity, who know that they could be laid off at any moment, who know that there's no such thing as job security, who know that them keeping their job has nothing to do with how good they are. And yet and still, they'll go to work and have knots in their stomachs, hoping when they open up an email that they have not been told this is your last day. They'll go to work hoping there's not a security guard standing by their desk with a box and say, empty your things in here and take them to the front door and escort them to the parking lot. They go in there hoping it doesn't happen. Why? Because they don't want to do the work. It's an aversion to most people's spirit.
I mean, look, you and I'm sure you do, and I'm transparent, so I talk about this. I know I'm at the, closer to the end of my career than the beginning of it.
I don't think so.
No?
No, because part of delivering this message, when you're in alignment with your purpose, I believe that gives you more time on the universe. Just look at me. I'm 72, but I don't look it. I don't have a 72-year-old energy. And there's a difference between that physiological age and that spiritual age. And I think when you're in alignment and doing what you're supposed to do that pleasures God, it keeps you young. You have the energy of a 20-year-old. That allows you to be
But I mean, there's going to be a time when you and I are not live in these bodies on a stage.
Without any question. Okay. And I'm not looking forward to that.
Les Brown.
One of the things I say to people, don't discount yourself. I didn't do what I'm doing now for 14 years because I didn't believe being labeled educable mentally retarded, failing in the 5th grade, put back to the 4th grade, and no college education, that I can compete with people with PhDs and MBAs. And so for 14 years, a lot of people say they have no regrets. The biggest regret that I have, that I disapproved of myself for 14 years. And then, there's a coincidence, it's God's way of staying anonymous. I went to a training and a guy was speaking. And Mike Williams had already said, hey, Brownie, you know why you go see Zig Ziglar and Dr. Robert Schuller and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking? I said, because I like the message. He said, no. He said, you like to help people. That's in you. You're always holding court here at the radio station. And you got a funny laugh, man. I said, I do? He said, yes. And so he just kept saying that to me. And I was at an event, and a guy was speaking, and it just stopped, like a spell came over him. He said, there's somebody here who should be doing this. He said, I do it because I make a lot of money. And he said, I love to make money. He said, but you want to change lives, and you can make money too, young man, young lady. And he said, you know who you are. And then he paused again. He said, the reason I'm standing up here holding this microphone and you are seated out there, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself. That hit me right between the eyes. I began to cry. At that time, this is in 1980. I went outside. I called Mike Williams. The telephone call was a dime then. I said, Mike. He said, yes. I said, I'm not rejecting myself anymore. Do you hear me? He said, Brownie, calm down. Listen to me, man. I'm not rejecting myself anymore.
Doctor,
Alfred Golson, who has since passed, was a very unusual guy. And he told me, he said, Mr. Brown, you have cancer. I said, can you give me a second opinion? He said, yes, and you're ugly too. I said, oh my God. So I didn't have a chance to have fear because those three words, you have cancer, three of the most feared words in 7 different languages. I saw it as a fight. And from that time to this time, my PSA was 2,400. And that stands for prostate-specific antigen, and now it's below 0 and metastasized to 7 areas of my body, which was a good thing because 7 is my lucky number. Okay, so I never was fearful that I was going to die from it, and I think that I read something by Dr. Norman Cousins. He wrote a book called The Biology of Hope, and he talked about the fact that when something happens to you, you don't deny it, you defy it. And I was defiant that I'm going to beat this, I'm going to handle this. That there are people who many times when something happens to them, that they embrace it from a place of fear and it takes them out. And L.C. Robinson said, things may happen to you and things may happen around you, but the most important things are the things that happen in you. And you have to stand up inside yourself and deal with it and handle it.
My mission in life has been, and still is to give people a vision of themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances, to let them know that they have greatness within them. But Han, greatness, it's not our destiny. It's a choice that you have to make every day. You have to put yourself in a state of perpetual discomfort in order to manifest your greatness. You've got to reach outside of your comfort zone. So every day I look forward to the opportunity to inspire people to reach higher, to understand and know that what they've done is only a tip of the iceberg of what's possible for them.
The key to being a loser
very important.
Is not loving and appreciating yourself.
Okay.
And allowing what other people think of you become more important to you than what you think of yourself.
Wow, it's a new advice.
Yeah. That we were born to do something. You're here to do a work. The 2 most important moments in our lives, it's been said, the day that we're born and the day that we realize why we were born. And if you don't know, if you want to live a life of misery, don't try and find out. And if you want to live a life that has meaning and value and a sense of direction, spend as much time as you possibly can to answer the question, why am I here? And not
so you will know yourself a lot of time.
Yes, so don't ask what is the meaning of life. Ask what is the meaning of my life? What am I supposed to do? What is this work that I was chosen, that God saw something in you, and you were chosen 1 out of 400 million sperm. He saw something in David. What was it that he saw? He saw something in Judah. He saw something in Les. There was something that caused us to be here. And I believe there's a work for us to do. There's something that if we don't do it, then the world will be deprived. And finding out what that something is, that element, the element is when what you love to do and what you were born to do come together that will allow you to show up in life in a bigger way. Just think about if you were an immigrant and you're watching television and you see people who can come from white cultures with no problems whatsoever, like the president's in-laws, but brown people coming from other countries, they're separated from their children and put in cages, and there's a silence. There's not millions of people protesting and saying, this is not who we are as a country. This is inhumane. I believe that all of us have a responsibility that we want to live a life that will outlive us. The work that you're doing. There are people that you will never meet, whose lives that you've transformed, that you're living a life that will live you. Just think about the fact that this program has given a lot of people hope, and there's hope in the future. That gives you power in the present. Every 40 seconds, someone commits suicide. But because of something you say or some guests that you've invited, and as they share their story, you interrupt that story of being hopeless and powerless and not wanting to be here anymore. And because they took the time to watch, you create an experience. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was. And so at the end of the program, at the end of one of your presentations, there are people who, because of you, their lives will be transformed, and they will become a pencil, as Mother Teresa would say, in the hand of God, and start writing a new chapter with their lives.